Saving $100,000 in Australia is a genuine achievement. But it is also the moment where one wrong decision can quietly cost you tens of thousands of dollars over the next decade. Leave it all in cash, and inflation eats it alive. Invest it all at once, and a market correction the following month can shake you into selling at exactly the wrong time. Put it all into super, and it may be locked away when you need it most. Smash it into the mortgage, and you lose flexibility, with nothing to show if an emergency hits. So what do you actually do? The answer depends entirely on your age, your debt, your super balance, and how many years you have until you want to stop working. And that is exactly what we are building today. Not one answer for everyone, but the right framework for where you actually are. Here is the principle that drives everything else. Don't ask where to put $100,000. Ask what job each dollar needs to do. Because $100,000 is not one pile of money. It is several different pools with different time frames, different tax treatments, and different levels of risk tolerance. And the split between them should reflect your specific situation. Job 1. Safety money. Before a single dollar goes anywhere else, you need an emergency buffer. Most Australian financial planners suggest maintaining 3 to 6 months of living expenses in accessible cash. And for contractors, single-income households, or anyone in an industry with job uncertainty, the higher end of that range is the right target. For most Australians, that sits between $15,000 and $30,000 in a high-interest savings account earning 5% or more right now. This is not your investment capital. This is the money that stops you from selling shares at the bottom because your hot water system failed. Once that buffer is in place, the rest of the $100,000 gets its own job. Job 2. Remove financial leaks. High-interest debt, credit cards, personal loans, buy now, pay later balances should go next. No ETF on the ASX is reliably returning 20% per year. Paying off a credit card at 20% interest is a guaranteed, tax-free 20% return on that money. That trade is unambiguous. But here is the question that matters most for Australians with a mortgage, and it is one most people get wrong. Paying off your mortgage delivers a guaranteed, risk-free return equal to your home loan interest rate. With standard variable rates currently sitting between 5.75% and 6.25%, paying down your mortgage is effectively a guaranteed after-tax return of around 6%. The catch? An offset account is the exception. It keeps your money fully accessible while still reducing the interest you pay. Money in an offset account earns the equivalent of your mortgage interest rate, tax-free, and remains completely liquid if you need it. For most Australian mortgage holders, the offset account is not a compromise between paying down debt and investing. It is the best of both. Guaranteed return, zero tax, full access. If you have a mortgage and your offset account is not full first, that is usually where a significant portion of this money belongs. Job 3. Use the Australian tax system. This is where super becomes genuinely powerful, especially for anyone over 45. The concessional contributions cap for 2025 to 26 is $30,000, including your employer's super guarantee contributions. Concessional contributions are taxed at just 15% inside super, currently lower than their marginal income tax rate of 32.5% or higher. But here is the move most people completely miss. If your total super balance is below $500,000, you can carry forward up to 5 years of unused concessional cap space, meaning you could potentially contribute well above $30,000 in a single year and claim a substantial tax deduction. That $100,000 lump sum could trigger one of the largest legitimate tax deductions you'll ever claim. The critical caveat: contributions must be received by your super fund before the 30th of June to count in the current financial year, and you must lodge a notice of intent to claim with your fund and receive written acknowledgement before lodging your tax return. One more super reality check, and it is important. The closer you are to retirement, the more powerful super becomes. But if you are 42 and want the option to retire at 55, putting $100,000 into super may lock away money you need before preservation age. The bridge portfolio question from the retirement video applies here too. Job 4. Grow the long-term money. Whatever remains after safety, debt, offset, and super gets its own job: long-term growth. And the right approach here depends entirely on your time horizon. Money you might need within 2 years should not be in shares. A market correction can arrive at any time, and you don't want to be forced to sell at a low. 2-year money belongs in a high-interest savings account or term deposit. Money for 3 to 7 years sits in a different category. Some exposure to growth assets is reasonable, but with more caution around concentration. Money for 7 or more years, money genuinely invested for retirement, has historically done well in a diversified Australian share portfolio. The ASX 200 has delivered approximately 8.2% per annum since inception, including dividends, and broad ETFs like A200 or VAS provide that exposure with minimal cost and maximum simplicity. If you are under 35, the priority order is usually emergency fund first, HECS context second. Remember, HECS doesn't compound like a mortgage. Then ETFs for long-term growth, and super through salary sacrifice for the tax benefit. If you are 35 to 50, the mortgage offset becomes a serious contender. Super catch-up contributions matter more as you approach the window where they deliver the biggest tax saving. ETFs continue alongside. If you are 50 to 60, super becomes your most powerful lever. Carry forward contributions for anyone with a super balance under $500,000 could allow a contribution of $50,000, $80,000 or more in a single year, all taxed at 15% instead of your marginal rate. Mortgage elimination before retirement removes a fixed cost that makes every retirement dollar go further. If you are 60 or older, the priority shifts toward accessing what you have efficiently. Cash buffer for sequence of returns risk. Super in pension phase where income is tax-free. The $100,000 question is never really one question. It is 5 questions at once. How much do you need accessible? What debt is costing you? Can your tax rate justify super? What is your timeline? And how would you behave if markets fell 30% the week after you invested? Answer those honestly, and the right allocation becomes obvious. Safety first. Leaks plugged. Tax efficiency captured. Long-term growth invested with a time horizon you can actually hold through. If this helped you think more clearly about your money, hit the like button and subscribe.